In this video, we're going to make access to Web3 and use it to retrieve a list of accounts that are automatically created for us as part of the local Ganache network. You can only deploy to a network when you have access to an account. So allow me to pull up this diagram where we're going to cover more about that. All right, I've got it pulled up. I'm going to share it with you all and resize it a bit. Size it a bit more. All right. So I'm going to use the Web3 library that has already been configured to connect to the local test network that gets started up by Ganache. So on the right is a list of unlocked accounts that are automatically created for me by Ganache. These accounts are defaulted as being unlocked or 100% accessible, just to make sure our lives for testing is a lot easier. This means we can freely send or receive Ether from these accounts without any concern for private keys or security or anything like that. It's just to make our lives easier for testing. So I'm going to use Web3 to gain access to these accounts. So I'm going to head back to my code. And I'm inside my inbox.test.js file. And I'm going to start out by defining a before each statement. And I'm going to add a arrow syntax to that. Sure, put a semicolon there. And I'm going to add some comments also to guide me. Let's see, get a list of accounts. And then here I'll say use one of those accounts to deploy contract. All right. Well, I want it separate, but the linter doesn't want to do that. There you go. All right, now the question becomes, how do we use the Web3 library to get access to all unlocked accounts? All right, well, I'm going to paste the code and then talk about it. So web3.eth.f, get accounts. So first, notice that we're using a lowercase Web3 one time, and that's when it's first required in. Then we can use it to create, I'm sorry, let me repeat that again. So up here, I use the capital Web3 account, a Web3 one time, and that's first to just required in, which is what I did up top here in this line of code. Then I can use it to create an instance. Now the Web3 library has many different modules assigned to it, and it can be used to work with many different types of cryptocurrencies. In this case down here, we do web3.eth or F, and that represents the Ethereum or the Ether cryptocurrency. So I'm looking at the ETH module of the Web3 library, and on that module, I'm accessing the get accounts function. And so every function that I call with Web3 is asynchronous in nature, which means it is always going to be returning a promise. So the web3.eth.getAccounts is going to return a promise that gets resolved with a list of accounts that I care about. To get access to that list of accounts that I care about, I have to chain on a .then, and that's going to take a function. So I'll go ahead and chain on the .then here, and that is going to take a function, and I'll call it fetched accounts with the arrow syntax. Right. All right. And then also, I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just do the console log fetched accounts. All right. Now, to get this to execute inside the before each, we do have to write out one test. So I just want to write out a dummy test for now and run this at my terminal to see the console log of all the accounts that got fetched from the Ganache local network. So underneath the before each statement, I'm going to add a describe block. So I'll do describe. And then the first thing is the inbox, or rather, since I should say inbox, yeah. And then the anonymous function. Let's see, make sure. Do semicolon, then I add an it block. That'd be it deploys a contract. And anonymous function again. All right. Now I'm writing out an it statement to ensure that my before each statement up here runs at least one time. I'm not going to add any logic inside the it statement just yet. I'm going to come back in a moment and add that. So let me save this, and let's go ahead and run this in the command line. Now, if you haven't viewed the video that I did previously on Mocha testing, there is one small change that you need to make in your package.json file, which is this one here. Yours is, if you haven't made that change, it'll say test, and then it'll have this big long string that doesn't really do anything. You want to change that to Mocha. Okay. Let's see. And once you do that, then we can flip over to the terminal. I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, and I want your eyes to focus in on this command line terminal panel here. This is where I'm inside that project itself. And then what I'm going to do in there is I'm going to run npm run test. Let's see. So it looks like I got an error here. It says before each hook for deploys a contract, it's failing, type error. This dot provider intermediate value is not a function. Let me take a look at what it's referring to. Fetched accounts, intermediate. Deploys a contract. Fetched. Taking a look at this, it's saying, say, before each hook for deploys a contract. This provider intermediate value is not a function. Get accounts, not a function. Or is it saying that provider? Let's see. Okay, I see the problem here. Let me ensure that you guys are watching my code. All right, so it's referring to this right here. So the error in my console said that this dot provider, when it says this, it's referring to Ganache. So this dot provider here, it's saying is not a function. In other words, this provider is supposed to be a function. So I forgot to do that in there. And so now if we head back to my command line, and now if I run, let me make sure I saved it. Yep, it's saved. Now let's run npm run test. All right, that was really fast. I had expected it would be much slower. Um, so you can see right here, there's a listing of 10 separate accounts, and these are pre-generated by the Ganache local testing network. All 10 accounts are completely unlocked, so you can use any of them to deploy contracts, send money, call a function on a contract, etc. This way, we don't have to manually create an account every time we want to run a test. So Ganache is great in that regard. Now, keep in mind, it is only a local test network. It's just for running tests and contracts locally, just for development purposes. All right, so that's it for that. In the next video, I'll do a bit of code cleanup and continue with the if statement. I'll see you then.